Okay, hi guys. So I thought I would do just a kind of like recap, status update on the Castles and Crusades campaign I've been playing on the channel. Haven't been able to get a lot of sessions in. I've only done about 3 so far, but I think they've been pretty productive. So I'm using Castles and Crusades, and I'm also using the encounter tables from I think it's the first edition D&D Dungeon Master's Guide, and the NPC generation table, which is a lot of fun. It's really enjoyable rolling up some NPCs because they're way better, honestly, using it with the dice than I could just come up with, even though I think I could come up with some pretty good ones. But anyway, the basic premise of our campaigns, this is set in a fantasy world I came up with, but I don't have my world map with me where I am right now. But so basically we have we have a kingdom, a western kingdom on the coast, the Kingdom of Jagalon, and they have this fort that's up the Sur Oxiana River, and the Jagalonians are protecting this steppe village, and this could be a kind of trading area. Probably the fort, what they're going to do, what they probably will want to do, at least one of our characters, they're probably going to want to try to irrigate it, help them with irrigation. This is a big deal in historical Central Asia. So we set out from the frontier town. I think I made a map of it. Here we are, of Black Matic, and it's on this kind of like heights, raised, not really a plateau. I'm not sure what you'd call this feature, but I used maps of like Vicksburg, Mississippi as like inspiration. But anyway, we've got like the main district, and then we've got some kind of outlying residential little neighborhoods. It's not really a fully developed town yet, so everything's not paved. But this is a kind of shipping town because goods come from the east, and then stuff comes from the west, and then you've got the nomads bringing livestock in. So now in this like world, I've written some stories. I've even recorded a couple, like reading them on the channel, where there are gunpowder weapons. But this campaign, I think, is just to make playing the rules a little easier. It's going to take place earlier in the world's history slightly, so they don't really have gunpowder weapons yet. But okay, that's the basic premise, or that's the geography. Now the premise is we have basically to these forts. There's a garrison of Jagalonian troops there, but every so often, every 7-8 months, there's 3 men that go there to administer it. So we have a knight who does, commands the troops, a cleric who's there to do, cleric things, and then a treasurer who is there to do probably the most important task in any empire or feudal kingdom, taking care of the money, especially keeping the troops paid. Always important. From my research on Ottoman history, it's the humble treasury bureaucrat is probably the more important in some ways than like the feudal cavalrymen or something. Anyway, but so we have 3 characters that I came up with. So we have our knight Shandor, And I'm not really a big meta gamer, so I think his stats are fine, but I didn't, and everyone in this world, I might have the fantasy races in this game world. I might have the elves, but they'd be very rare, not a common group. So basically everyone is human, and there's no orcs. Okay, so that's our knight. He's got his horse. I didn't give them super complex, armament because, in my mind, he's like a knight, so he is experienced, but, he's just going to have kind of the weapons that he's sort of issued. So he's got a brigadine, a steel shield, dagger, and a long sword. Maybe I should have given him a helmet, or maybe I don't know, maybe he doesn't have it right now. And then I just gave everyone 100 gold pieces because that's like kind of their government per DM, if you will, from the crown. We have our cleric Lucian, yeah, I mean, I think his stats are okay. I mean, I'm not super hung up on the stats. If they're not that good, then that just can make the game more interesting. He's got some spells. Another thing about my world, like there isn't arcane magic is pretty rare, and it's basically associated with bad guys. But we have the divine magic, and doesn't have a lot of complicated weaponry either. Just padded armor and a light mace. And then we have, now, I'm not sure whether to call our third character, Divinicus, an NPC, but in the last video, I just kind of said he's like a non-adventurer player character. So I did roll stats for him because he could be useful. Potentially, 3 hit points, so he's not like a tough guy. What we said on the stream was, he probably came from, he's pretty strong, so maybe he came from like a rural background, and he was kind of intelligent. So he got recruited into the finance ministry, but he's not like a soldier. He's in pretty good shape, but he's not really like a good fighter, something like that, because even his dexterity and constitution are kind of low. So strong but not like trained to fight, kind of thing. So the first day, I was messing around with like the encounter tables. Oh, all right. And how are we moving to the ford? So one is so each of these is like the halting place for the boat. And I did measure this out based on the scale on the world map. So it amounts to basically 8 days, and we're saying that the boatman can travel. It's like a big rowboat, kind of like a galleon almost, but not as big as like a true galleon. And the boatmen have some kind of blessing that lets them sort of row against the current. Most of the river boatmen in this world have that. And this first day when I was playing, I didn't have like all the encounter tables that Telemachus sent me, so I was trying to use the 3.5 ones, which are not super useful, but we did have some interesting things happen. So we have this man in orange. He might come back later, we don't know. And then the boat rode all day. At 9:30 p.m., a Knoll slave taker appeared. This guy was pretty tough. He was wounded, and Sirtlan, the Knoll slave taker, he might still be operating, but he was kind of defeated. One of the riverboatmen died. He did take some damage, but he ran back to the Knoll camp, and those are his stats. Now the second day, so at the first, still at the first boat station. So the second day, Shandor wanted to, since he's a knight, he's going to go out and try to find the gnolls, because, you know, he's got to put a stop to whatever's going on here. We did encounter this merchant, Borgo, and this is when I had the NPC generation, so we gave him, you know, a personality. He was, you know, perverted mortals. I keep getting this on the dice. I don't know why, but at any rate, yeah. Met this guy, and we were ambushed, so we were downriver a little bit, and the gnolls are kind of out here somewhere. And the gnolls did ambush Lucian and Shandor as they were searching 2 gnolls. And so they advanced 3 miles. They were attacked by 2 gnolls. Lucian is reduced to -2 hit points, so he took a pretty big hit. And then Shandor was hit for like 1 hit point, but he was able to use a bandage. And then at 9:30, he arrived at the second halting station and stopped for the night. And we had some human berserkers. I think they tried to recruit them, if I remember correctly. I didn't rewatch all the whole live stream, but yeah, I think they tried to recruit them, but they moved on. They were going to Black Matic to look for mercenary work. They're from the steppe. Day 3, so that was, you know, 12 hours. I'm saying it's like 12 hours basically that they row every day. And then day 3, so began moving. Lucian's out of commission. But he healed mine to -1 hit point. There was a Jagiellonian patrol in this area, but it moved on. Now, we're not at the 3rd place, but the 3rd halting station is near a ruined city. And at 9:30 p.m. they arrived. This is Alukbig. And then, so that's when I started. This was the most recent live stream, so I rolled some encounters. There was a wolf, but didn't go, no, it wasn't noticed. And at this point, because of the problem with the gnolls, everyone's staying on the boat at night for safety. We've got Lucian, did some healing. We encountered a nomad, who's a new character that I rolled up. We'll talk about him in a second. Chaotic neutral, youthful, dandyish, neurotic, but also servile and obsequious. He's solitary and secretive at the same time, but also compassionate and sensitive, anti-intellectual and jealous. He's average materialist, truthful, normal bravery, lusty morals, iconoclastic. He's got like normal energy, so he's not like super hyper, but not super slow. He's kind of thrifty. He is interested in legends. It's anti-intellectual, but he is interested in legends, which I think that actually makes a lot of sense. And we decided, because of Charles, Latora, and Telemachus, and Meandering Mike, I think, had joined, we gave him some other stuff. So he's got 2 camels to carry his goods and a goat. He's carrying a scimitar. So what we decided was, you know, so he's like a merchant kind of guy, but he's not like a bulk goods merchant. He's kind of like interested in sort of special interest items, you know, because he does have a lot of possessions, and he is dandyish. So, you know, he's not just dealing in carpets. It's like, you know, something that's really like a really unique piece, or you know, like for clothing, you know, maybe something with like a very interesting pattern, or you know, maybe something with jewel inlay or things like that. And they hire him to be a guide, you know, and there was some persuasion. And we rolled another encounter. I I guess this is the royal we, but anyway, herd animals. And then at 10:30, now this was originally supposed to be a medium wasp, but I could not find it in the Castles and Crusades monster book. So I changed it to a medium spider, but it was still really tough. This expedition is not going well. So we only had 3 rounds of combat, but Shandor, our knight, he's struck by a spider bite. He took 6 damage. The spider took 1 damage. And then Shandor took poison bite or poison damage for -2. So I think he failed this save, and then he was reduced to 2 HP, and he's paralyzed for the next 8 hours. And then Shandor is paralyzed in his cabin. So well, I guess someone was able to use a bandage because he's paralyzed. So probably one of the crewmen, we'll just say that. He's at 3 hit points. And I made a note because, okay, why is the spider here? So we've got the ruins of Alukbeg. This is a steppe empire city that's crumbled for a long time. So why did the spider come aboard? Probably there's spiders in the ruins, like a spider nest. These are giant spiders, of course. And then that's our Blackmatic map. And then where I left it off at the last session, so we have rolled on the water encounter table, and we have the Buccaneer boat that approaches with 5 men aboard. And we'll see what happens when I can do another session. But in the meantime, I decided that since, we kind of recruited Sia, Shandor, and Lucy, well, really Shandor, I thought, why don't we make him a character? I thought Rogue would fit his kind of personality well that we rolled up for him. So, I'm thinking, probably he is like a merchant, he is like a kind of trader kind of guy, but probably he's like kind of stealing some stuff, maybe, finding the best silk that fell off a camel, that kind of thing. Because he is chaotic neutral, so he's not like a good guy kind of thing. So that might create some problems between, the cleric and our knight later, because they're both neutral good, and they're also government officials, so there's an expectation to be, upstanding. Oh, I did forget one thing about our giant spider encounter. So how was the spider defeated? Because Shandor was wounded. So since Shandor was wounded, Divinicus came out of the cabin area on the boat, from below decks, and I made it a check, a very difficult dexterity check, to see if Divinicus kind of panics, seeing that Shandor is paralyzed, and he's already worried because Lucian's also grievously wounded. And so he takes like a lantern off of the boat, like off of the railing on the side, and he threw it at the spider, lit the spider on fire, and then it plunged into the, it fell off the water. Now, if he had failed that, what I had in mind was that he would light the boat on fire, and that would have created some other situation. But the dice worked in the crew's favor. So yeah. So I guess I'll just see what happens if I can keep playing this. And I'm keeping a kind of in-game calendar, and this is how I've been, doing the time for when I run my Call of Cthulhu games, where I have every hour marked down, and then for shorter events, I just kind of make a judgment call of how long that would take kind of thing, because, or the combats, I know in Castles and Crusades, it's every round is 6 seconds or something. But anyway, I just kind of make a judgment call in shorter events. But if it's something more substantial, I say okay, that's 1 hour has passed. And I did come up with a calendar. Well, I decided to just use the Islamic lunar calendar because I know that as an alternative calendar for this world, you know, because it's consistent and, you know, but I'm not using the names. I'm just, you know, month one, month two, and then using like and then giving like a kind of pseudo Central Asian Tibetan animal calendar for the years. This is like the year of the horse in the world. But anyway, that's like just kind of a detail. But yeah, so just keeping it like kind of like a diary, you know, when for every day something happens. And yeah, so we'll see what happens. I mean, and since we added another character to the party, yeah, it could be interesting. After I rolled him up, I thought about, you know, maybe I could have just made him a fighter, but I thought rogue might suit his what I got from the NPC table, so that might have been more. I think that'll be more interesting. And yeah, we'll see what happens. And hopefully, I can keep doing this. Right now, I'm abroad again, so I can't do a lot of miniature painting right now. And well, don't want to say never. Maybe I could, but we'll see. But this is easier because I've got like a bunch of the books just saved on my laptop or my tablet, and I have you know, I can just play this with my notebook, and I've got my you know, my dice here with me. So and you know, on the stream it's been fun having the kind of normal crew who I'm always happy to have in the chat. Chris from Nanguaya, Meandering Mike, Charles Latora, of course, and Telemachus. They're always the regulars, so it's always nice having you all to suggest things. But yeah, we'll see. Oh, I just realized looking at this, I need to give him some starting gold. But you know what? I think I'm just going to roll a D100 for that. Because he's a merchant, so he's not really like going to be like an adventurer. Okay, he's got 3 gold. Okay. All right. That actually might make it interesting. So he's got 3 GP. He's kind of down on his luck, maybe, or something, you know, because Divinicus, our treasurer, told him that he's going to get paid 1 gold piece a day as a contractor to the expedition. So, yeah. Okay. That's the Castles and Crusades kind of recap. And yeah, maybe you find this interesting. And if I can find a time that would be good for another stream, for another session, I will do that. It's just the time difference between Europe and America is a little, makes it a little difficult unless I stay up very late. But anyway, okay. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope everyone's doing well, and I'll talk to you in the next video.